Hello, this is Martin with Blue Water Custom Marine, and today we're going to go over using a Garmin GXM54 Sirius XM Weather Module, but more importantly, we're going to go over the audio features and how to use it with the Garmin. This one's a 743. On this boat up top on the flybridge, we have a 1243 XSV. The trick here on this particular boat is because we're not running radar, we're only running sonar and the GXM54 on the marine network. We're not using a GSM10 network splitter on this particular boat. So the GXM54 weather module is plugged into the 1243 XSV, and on this particular boat, that means that the 1243 has got to be on in order for you to see it here on the 743 down in the lower helm. This particular customer is going to be using this boat about 98 to 99% up on the flybridge, so that's why we went ahead and plugged it up there. If he were to use that down here, say in a storm or something like that, he could just leave that unit on up there, and it would give him the weather information, the satellite XM audio down here as well, along with his sonar. So that being said, this particular boat, he also, I did not get a chance to consult him on the audio setup, but we did do the stereo system on this boat probably about 3 weeks ago. And on this boat, we have a Fusion MSRA70 head unit. Unfortunately, the customer did not get an MSRA70N or an MSRA70 NSX, which would allow him to control that stereo via the Garmin units on the NEMA 2000 network. So he does have the phone app, he's using that, and he also has the Bluetooth Fusion remotes as well. So he is able to control it otherwise on the boat. It's just not able to do it here on these Garmin MFDs. So let's get started. Basically what we're going to do, we're using the 743 to do this because that way I can get to the stereo quickly. So on here we can either do a couple things. We can go home and we can do vessel, and we can go to media over here. And right now it's going to tell you the preferred device is not currently available. So we're going to touch it up here, GXM54. That tells us that we're on the 80s station at 8. You don't hear anything currently. That's because the stereo itself is located over here. Again, I have to come over here to control it. So walk with me here. We're going to go down here. And his MSRA70 is here. On this unit, we will have to change the source to auxiliary. On this particular unit, it's auxiliary. Some boats, it might be auxiliary 1. So once I do that, and I don't have the remote here, so we can turn up the music here. Music history. And we'll close that up. And now you can hear it. On his upper helm, he has the Fusion remote, so he can turn it up and down up there. You can also do a little bit here. You could play with it just a little bit, so that in a rudimentary system you could do it this way. So basically the Garmin unit becomes your tuner at this point. So we are running the audio through the auxiliary port on the stereo. And now if this were able to have the audio controls, in other words, if he had an NSX model of the stereo on here, then we could just simply switch between right here on the XM where it says this, and you can, well, let's see. You would be able to go back and change it'll give you the option of changing the source. And we could switch back over to MSRA70 NSX. In this case, since like I said, it's separate units. So this would also be the same setup if you were using, like a Clarion CMD 876, any of the older Clarion units, or a Sony, any other unit that did not have the NEMA 2000 connection. You're still going to do the same kind of setup I just did. You're just going to go to whatever you plugged in your GXM54 audio tuner to whatever, whether it's auxiliary 1, 2, 5, whatever it happens to be free on that particular stereo. And then once you get there, then you can come over here, and then you can basically change the stations to whatever you want. Like if you wanted to do 90s on 9, you would just click here, then tune the channel, and that changes it. Again, your master control can be set whatever, and if you want to control it down here, you can on the bridge here. It's not controlling the stereo's volume per se. The stereo volume is set. This is just controlling the tuner's volume. So if you are controlling the tuner volume, I mean the volume from the stereo, you would want to leave this all the way up. And that way, kind of like you would do with Bluetooth with your phone. When you're Bluetooth and things, you can turn things up and down by just your volume of your phone in a rudimentary fashion. But again, basically, and then what I'm going to do here is we're going to go home. We're going to go to charts. I'm going to go ahead and set him up with a, I'm going to set him up with a bar at the top. So we'll go to options, overlay, and then top bar. I want to make it media. And then we'll go back. And now you can see he's got the media playing while he can look at his chart plotter. He can switch stations like this, or you can bring up the full page again like we had it. Hit X. You can do your volume here as well. So you can do your volume there. So that's basically how you would work the tuner. Remember, you have basically two tuners on board now. So the GXM54 is your satellite stereo tuner, whereas on this particular boat, the Fusion head unit is going to control things like his Bluetooth, his AM/FM. The auxiliary input is his Sirius tuner, but you're not going to be able to control the tuner from the stereo, not with the GXM54. Or if you were to have a Simrad or a Raymarine or a Furuno, all those work the same exact way. They're separate tuners. You can do you can do a Sirius XM tuner. I think they're about $100 with the antenna for any satellite radio ready stereo, and then you would have full control on the stereo unit itself of that Sirius XM. In this case, we're doing Sirius XM weather. As you can see, when we go down here to home, he has the weather here. So this is precipitation, and that'll show any of the precipitation that might be around. I mean, you can see some here, looks like in Texas. We can go back and then you can change it over to the forecast. And as we zoom in, you can see cold fronts, wherever there are, if there are any around. And then let's see, so stop panning, let's go back home. And you can do sea temperature, just so whatever package you happen to have will determine what you see. I think it looks like he might have just the coastal. And then we have sea temperature or sea conditions, and then you can see here it gives you wave height and different wind speeds, things like that. Once you zoom in, it'll give you a little more detail usually of that area. So, but basically that's why we're running the stereo through the auxiliary, and you're definitely controlling, in this boat's case, you're controlling the stereo separately. On the tuner, you can adjust the volume, and of course, if you're just running the XM tuner on here, then you can just kind of do some of your own settings and change channels and things like that. You can add this toolbar. Oops, on the 743. Back on the 743. It puts it at the top. On the 1243 up top, and I think the 943, you get a choice either top or bottom if you want to put the toolbar. Same thing goes with the GPS map. 8610, 8612, 8616, you can choose top or bottom. But on the 7-inch screen, it always asks you if you want to put it at the top. Again, that's how we hook up how we use the GXM54 satellite tuner. So we'll run through it one more time so you don't have to rewind this. So basically, once you get it up and running, you can go to main menu here, and then select your stations like this, tune the channel, and it'll do that. You can set up your playlists, all that kind of stuff, feature like it. But to get sound out of it, remember you got to turn your stereo to auxiliary, whichever auxiliary input you put the RCAs into, and then if you want to turn your volume up to whatever level on the stereo, then come over here and then control it with this volume, you can. If you have NEMA 2000 control, you'll have the controls. I'll do a video on that when I do another boat with the NEMA 2000, so you can see how to switch back and forth between the tuners, which will be over here. So yeah, we go to media. Yeah, you'll have over here, I think it's on this side, you'll have a choice. It'll say tuner or source. I'm sorry, source. On this particular case, since there is nothing else attached, the only source is the Sirius XM, and then you can go from there. All right. Again, this is Martin with Blue Water Custom Marine. Hope you have a great day, and good luck. Bye bye.